Trent Hendrick may have just become the most interesting linebacker in college football, and he's still in the NFL. So, on this episode of the Big Ten Huddle presented by FanDuel, it's about three teams that could steal Hendrick from the NFL because this is not a normal transfer portal story. Hendrick was the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year at James Madison last season. He had 106 tackles, 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles. He went through the NFL draft process, the entire process, not just the draft process, but the entire process, worked out at a rookie minicamp with the Cleveland Browns and Kansas City Chiefs, and now has a path to come back to college football because of this new court fight over the 5th year of eligibility and now transfer portal access. And the three best Big Ten fits all have a direct reason to believe they can get him. Going through them, we got Michigan. They already have contacted him, according to people who are talking to reports out there. Indiana has Kirk Cinetti, who coached Hendrick at James Madison, and UCLA has Bob Chesney, the coach Hendrick just played for during the best season of his career. So we are ranking those three destinations, but first, two things determine whether Hendrick actually comes back at all. First, Hendrick is not sitting on an NFL roster deciding whether to quit the league. He went undrafted and attended the Browns and the Chiefs rookie minicamp as a tryout player, but he did not sign an NFL contract. So unlike some other players involved in these eligibility cases, there is not currently an NFL team who has to release Hendrick before he can pursue college. That changes the question. Is it, will an NFL team let him go? Or it is, does Hendrick believe one more year of college gives him a better path to the NFL than waiting for another pro opportunity? And I think that answer could very easily be yes. He produced at a high level, tested very well, or well enough, I guess, to get multiple NFL looks, but still went undrafted and left those mini camps without a contract. Another season where he can play 12 or 13 games, make it NIL or revenue sharing money, and put Big Ten tape on there against NFL caliber offenses on his resume might actually be the better professional decision for him. Second, the SEC angle does matter here as well. Greg Sankey has not banned SEC schools from taking players like Hendrick, but he has told SEC programs to move carefully, follow existing NCAA and SEC rules, and work through compliance before making eligibility commitments. In other words, do not treat one court order like the universal green light, and so there is some more caution there, and that is meaningful, a meaningful speed bump. It does not mean the SEC is closed and the Big Ten is officially open, but it does mean that the SEC is expressing caution. But if Big Ten programs are willing to move aggressively while SEC schools are being told to slow down and scrutinize these cases, Hendrick's realistic market could tilt toward the Big Ten. And now look at three coaches waiting there. Number 3, the third team with the least amount of chance to get Hendrick, I think, is Indiana. Now, do not dismiss this one because they're last. Kirk Cinetti coached Hendrick during his first 2 seasons at James Madison. Hendrick entered the program in 2022. Cinetti remained that coach there through 2023 before leaving for Indiana. So there is already trust with him coming to the program. Cignetti knows the player, Hendrick knows the culture, and Indiana has already shown how valuable those James Madison relationships can be. Former James Madison players became major pieces to Cignetti's championship roster in Bloomington, and how can you say no at this point if you are somebody who has seen what Kirk Cignetti has done? The question is, do they need him? Indiana already feels good about its top linebackers. Hendrick would be more of a luxury addition than an emergency fix, but they do need some depth there as well. So an experienced, productive veteran who deepens a championship level defense would be nice. Currently, FanDuel has Indiana favored to go under their 10.5 regular season win total at minus 114. Would Hendrick alone suddenly make make that rise or make it better for people? No, not necessarily, but one linebacker should not change your entire opinion of the team. But for a team with championship expectations, one veteran can matter. If later on in the season somebody is out for a little bit or something happens, that would give Indiana a lot more insurance. Indiana makes sense because of familiarity. I do not think the Hoosiers have the same combination of need and recent connection as the number 2 team. Who I have number 2 is UCLA, and this is where it gets really interesting. Bob Chesney did not coach Hendrick 4 years ago. He coached him last year. Hendrick became the Sun Belt Defensive Player, or 2 years, but he became the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year under Chesney at James Madison. UCLA is now building around many of the same ideas and staff connections that help Hendrick become the player, or that kind of player that he was and still is. That gives UCLA something nobody else here can offer. Almost no learning curve. It is August, and that totally matters. You are not bringing in a linebacker in January and getting him in spring ball and just, able to kind of get him up to speed. You're getting a guy that you need to get up to speed and get going now. You're dropping him into a team already in fall camp, almost done with fall camp, if he does decide to come to the Big Ten or come to UCLA for this matter. For most players, that is a major problem. But for Hendrick at UCLA, it is much less of a problem. He understands what Chesney expects. He understands the defensive personality, the schematics, and things like that. And UCLA could use another proven linebacker. The Bruins have talent, but there are still questions about proven production behind their top options. One preseason assessment that I saw of UCLA's linebacker room specifically identified the lack of another established producer in an area where the staff could have used help. Hendrick walks in with 106 tackles from last year, and that's not a projection. That is total production. So FanDuel has UCLA favored to go under their 6.5 win total at -120. Of these 3 teams, UCLA is where Hendrick could most realistically change that, those odds for them to go under, and how that's affected there. Not because linebacker is worth 2 wins or anything like that, but because 6.5 is a threshold where one close game could matter, and having an extra linebacker you can rely on who has played for you before could make a difference. If UCLA is sitting in a fourth quarter fight trying to get from 6 wins to 7 wins, adding a veteran who knows the head coach and just one defensive player of the year under him could really matter. I would not automatically flip it over on that or say the odds will flip, but Hendrick would make me reconsider it. Number 1, the Michigan Wolverines. This one is number 1 for a simple reason. Michigan is the only Big Ten team among those 3 that has already been publicly connected to Hendrick. The Wolverines contacted him after the earlier eligibility ruling at the beginning of August. The initial reporting said the conversations had not advanced very far yet, but the interest there does seem to be real. Michigan did not wait for us to invent the fit here or anything like that, and the roster fit does make sense. Michigan lost major veteran production at linebacker and is now moving to the 4-2-5 structure. The Wolverines have talent there, but there's uncertainty and inexperience. You don't have Jayshawn Barham, you don't have Jimmy Rolder, Ernest Hausman, and Cole Sullivan all left the room, while Michigan is now looking for its next group to emerge. Now, Hausman could still return. There was a little bit of buzz about that about a week ago. I don't think Michigan will take him back, but you never know. This is a situation where Michigan obviously is needing another linebacker here. That is exactly where Hendrick fits into all this. He is not a developmental addition. He led a playoff team in tackles. He has already played high-level football as winning the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year. He's already gone through the NFL evaluation, and FanDuel has Michigan favored to go under their 8.5 win total as well, but theirs is the largest at -188. That is a much stronger market opinion than the Indiana or UCLA numbers. Would Trent Hendrick suddenly turn Michigan into a 10-win lock or anything like that? No, but he would significantly help their defense. But of these 3 rosters, Michigan is where I think he would have the direct largest impact, maybe not immediately like he would possibly at UCLA, but he does give them a veteran communicator if he picks up the defense very quickly. He's a proven tackler, someone who has already played meaningful December football. And when your win total is sitting at 8.5, improving one certain position can absolutely be part of the difference between 8 wins and maybe 9 wins. So Michigan is my number 1 destination here, but here's the twist. The biggest threat to all 3 Big Ten teams may not be the NFL. might be James Madison. James Madison has already publicly expressed hope that Hendrick could come back. Their head coach, Billy Napier, which is funny, going from Florida to there, he acknowledged the possibility and said the Dukes were hopeful about getting him back. That's his home. That is where he became an award winner. That is the easiest emotional decision. But if any of these Big Ten teams have interest in him, you have to go with the teams that are actually playing more meaningful football. But if Hendrick is thinking about maximizing one final season, bigger weekly games, potentially more compensation, and a chance to put Big Ten film in front of NFL scouts, Michigan, UCLA, and Indiana trumps the home card and where he played at before. My ranking is Michigan number 1 because there's confirmed interest and a clear need. UCLA number 2 because Bob Chesney just coached the best season in Hendrick's career. His transition could be immediate over to them, and UCLA is looking into the matter. We know that from some reporting out there. And Indiana be number 3 because Kirk Cinetti knows exactly who Hendrick was a few years ago, and if he liked what he saw when he brought him in, he probably likes what he sees on his tape too. And so, but they don't need him quite as badly. And the bigger story is not just Trent Hendrick. If these court orders hold, college football may have a new kind of August transfer market or September transfer market. Players who thought their college careers were finished getting one more chance while coaches decide whether experience is worth the legal certainty. The Big Ten has 3 programs with direct Hendrick connection. Now we find out which one is willing to move first and if any of them are willing to pull the trigger if Hendrick is willing to come. If you want more straight Big Ten football talk and analysis, please do like the video, subscribe here to the Big Ten Huddle, and tell me in the comments, who do you think is most likely? Michigan, UCLA, Indiana, or you think back to James Madison, or you think somebody in the crummy SEC is going to try to scoop him up and bring him in? Let me know down in the comments below. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for being here. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.